So Starbucks just announced massive layoffs. About 1,000 people are going to be getting laid off from Starbucks, and hundreds of Starbucks coffee shops are going to also be closed. This is not a good sign for the economy, guys. It's a very bad sign for the economy, and it's not just things that are coming, it's things that are now here. Why is Starbucks closing so many stores, and how is that going to affect people, women, society, and the economy going forward? Watch it in the video to fully have those questions answered. Don't forget to go ahead and follow us over on Rumble. Our Rumble is linked in the description of the video. Also, don't let them convince you that you will own nothing and be happy. Go and check out Angry's Crypto Academy to learn how to buy, sell, and trade crypto and make massive profit. It's also linked in the description of the video. Don't forget to like the video by hitting the like button, turning on notifications by turning on notification bell, and subscribe to the channel if you already haven't to push us out into the YouTube algorithm. And now let's begin. So this article comes from Barron's. And as you can see, it says Starbucks to close hundreds of coffee shops and lay off 900 workers. So it's almost 1,000 workers. We can round up. It's like if you're 5'11", but you round up to 6. So Starbucks is closing hundreds of coffee shops in the U.S. and Canada and laying off 900 corporate employees as part of a $1 billion restructuring the company announced Thursday. So this is fresh. This is fresh off the press. This is fresh off the presses. Like hot and fresh out the kitchen. Except this is not. It's not something good. It's bad stuff. Bad stuff. Bad juju. The company didn't provide details on how many stores would close, but said it will finish its fiscal year, which ends next Tuesday, with less than 18,300 locations in the US and Canada. Starbucks had 18,734 locations as of June 29th. So yeah, they're looking to shred just over 400 stores, so almost 500 stores. They're looking to drop almost 500 stores. That's massive. That's a massive number of stores that they are shutting down within just over the course of 3 to 4 months. And we know that this is going to affect women a lot more than it affects men, because there are more women who work at these shops that work at Starbucks. There's a lot of Gen Zers who have these jobs, and millennials. So a lot of these people are going to end up losing these jobs that they've now tried to turn into careers. I'm not so sorry for them. I don't feel that bad for them, but it is pretty bad for them. We need to be very real. This is really serious. And they're not going to be able to replace those jobs. They're not going to be able to find other jobs that allow them to subsidize that income. Like they're between a rock and a hard place. Like this is bad stuff. Really, really bad stuff. So the company didn't provide details, blah blah blah. We identified coffee houses where we're we identified coffee houses where we're unable to create the physical environment our customers and partners expect, or we or where we don't see a path to financial performance. CEO Brian Nicole wrote in an open letter. The Seattle-based company will notify staff at impacted shops this week and will attempt to offer transfers to nearby locations or where possible, the chief executive added. So that's just their code for, yeah, we're trying to look like we're going to do right by our employees, but there's no way they're going to be able to move everyone. A lot of those jobs are gone. They're cutting the waste because it's $1 billion in cuts. All right. So part of those $1 billion in cuts, because these are corporate employees, these are corporate store employees, they don't want those people on the payroll. They don't want those people on the payroll. They're trying to make it look like they're like doing right by their employees. No, they don't want those people on the payroll. Okay. They want to be done with them. A lot of these woke people with, you know, different colored hair and very interesting views on philosophies on life. They really don't want any. They really don't want those people around like that. So Starbucks will eliminate around 900 non-retail jobs as it attempts to shave expenses and invest more in coffee shop staffing and redesigns, Nicole said. Workers will find out their status Friday morning, he added, requesting that employees work from home the next 2 days. Work from home. Store closure costs and other restructuring expenses, including severance packages, will total around $1 billion, Starbucks said in a regulatory filing. So, guys, think about the logistics here. They're claiming like they're going to try to like move people to other locations, but but severance packages will total around $1 billion, and this will lead to about $1 billion, like from what I can decipher here, annually in savings. So there's no way that they want to keep these people around. All right. They're basically trying to get rid of them using, the expenses that it would cost them for about a year to keep on operating these stores. They're basically footing that bill to save $1 billion every year going forward. The moves come as Nicole, the former Chipotle Mexican grill CEO, embarks on the second year of his turnaround plan. The executive has focused on improving customers' in-store experience and revamping the menu, but sales and profit margins still showed weakness last quarter. So it's like they can't seem to comprehend. It's coffee. No one is supposed to have to spend more than $2.50 for a cup of coffee. Okay, but you go to Starbucks and they want $10, $11, $12, $15 for a cup of coffee. You've got to be kidding me. And you if you better not think about buying food at Starbucks, because then it's even worse. And it also depends on the location. It's a big difference between buying something in a cup of coffee in Minnesota and buying a cup of coffee in New York, where it can cost like a third more than what the overpriced coffee in Minnesota cost. It's insane. It's madness. So they don't understand that it's not just customer service, it's prices. People can't afford to buy your stuff anymore. It doesn't matter how comfortable you make the experience, okay? People shopped at Starbucks because it was affordable before. It was affordable to buy the coffee. Now it's no longer affordable, and people have less disposable income than ever before. And you're thinking that, well, if we improve the experience, the sit down experience, people are going to come in more. They don't have the money, little bro. They don't. They don't have it. They don't have it, little bro. I don't know what's wrong with these people. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The steps are to reinforce what we see as working and prioritize our resources against them. Nichols wrote, early results from coffee house uplists show customers visiting more often, staying longer, and sharing positive feedback. Investors largely shrugged off the announcement Thursday, with Starbucks down 0.5%. Shares have fallen 7.7% this year as of Wednesday's close. Yeah, and these companies, there's not much they can do other than continuing to raise prices as inflation increases. So people are making the same amount of money or less sometimes than they were making 5 years ago, and inflation continues to outpace any gains in salary substantially. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. The thing is that because people have so much less disposable income today as a result of inflation, they cannot spend on basic things like they used to. Gen Z is staying home and making their own coffee. Gen Z is making their own coffee. Gen Z is not buying video games. Gen Z is not going on dates. Gen Z is not is Gen Z. Most Gen Z males have reported that they have not been physically intimate with anyone in years. The average Gen Z male was above the age of 18 through 28 years old. The vast majority of them are reporting that they have not been physically intimate with anyone in years. A substantial portion of them have never been physically intimate with anyone. But most of them have not been physically intimate with anyone in many, many years. They are broke. They have no money. This is horrendous. And the baby boomers they're just sitting there and just looking on and talking nonsense and jazz. They don't, guys. This isn't what this. These people are so selfish. It's insane. I'll be 42 next month. Right? I'm a Zennial, and it's like you spent so much of your life just waiting for your life to begin, waiting to finally have kids, waiting to finally buy a house, waiting to have enough, make enough money for this to be realistic. You know, it's like all of these things that you've missed, and now, as you're in your 40s and or a little older than that, the baby boomers will tell you straight up, tell you to your face, you can't. You're too old to have kids at this age. You're already in your 40s. You must be crazy thinking about having kids. And it's like their brains don't comprehend. So when you were in your 20s, you had our early 30s, you had already had kids, you already had a house, you already had nice cars, you were living your life, taking vacations, and they look at you like you're a loser while you're sitting around carrying massive amounts of student loan debt that you can never repay and working for crap wages, and they just look at you like, we earned everything that we had. Okay, times were hard, but we hustled hard and we pulled through. And you people, you just don't know anything about hard work. All right, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, work a couple of jobs, stop complaining, buy a house, get married, have some kids. And it's like they're just completely delusional and disconnected from reality, because they're living in this like bubble, of a time period that no longer exists. They had it so good that they don't know what it's like in the modern day era. And the crazy thing is that there a lot of them are crashing out. Like, for example, they go to the grocery store and the card reader doesn't work. And they start crashing out like Gen Zers because they're not used to a society where everything does not align with them. Everything is not perfectly built and curated for them. And very small things make them frustrated. Oh, we accept Cash App. I don't know how to use Cash App. Blah 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 blah. Or you need to do self checkout. Self checkout. Why can't I use it? Why do I need self checkout? Why can't I have a person check my groceries out? It's crazy, because these are people who haven't kept up with society. They haven't kept up with technology. They haven't kept up with anything. They're not learning new skills, and then they wonder why things are so hard. Guys, everything has been so carefully curated for the boomers for decades now that they haven't had to really do anything to keep up with society. Society was basically trying to keep up with them. And now that they've created a convoluted society where it's hard for anyone to thrive and survive, and technology is just rampantly rushing forward and outpacing humanity, boomers are like, "How dare you? How dare you, bro? You're the ones responsible for this. You know, you control the institution still. You're the ones who control this. You control, you control Congress. You control all of the public and private institutions. You control the banks. You control the internet. You control everything. And now you're complaining because the system that you built is no longer working for you entirely. I mean, it still works for you much more than it works for everyone else. You're the wealthiest generation of people to ever live in the history of humanity. There's never been a group of people wealthier in the history of humanity than the baby boomers. The only exception are ancient rulers, kings and ancient rulers. The average baby boomer has so much wealth, it's unimaginable. While the average person who is younger than the boomers are just ridiculously poor, even compared to people from previous generations during even the Great Depression. Gen Zers are substantially more poor than people who grew up during the Great Depression, which sounds crazy, but it's not. Because even though there was things like food insecurity during the Great Depression, the average person still had a home. They still had a home. People still had jobs. All right. Well, yes, unemployment was high. But even if you had, let's say, 20% unemployment, that means 80% of people still had their jobs. They still had some income coming in. It was still enough to afford a home. It was still enough to keep the lights on. I don't know. It's ridiculous. You had a family unit, you had a community. You didn't have everything, but you had guys during the Great Depression. They came put all kinds of recipes for pies and candy, self homemade candy. A lot of that stuff is it was incredible. It was great stuff. Yeah, you went through hard times, but you had the ability to persevere. We can't do any of that these days. We don't even have those things anymore. We can't afford homes. We can't afford anything. We can't afford utilities. We can't afford anything. You've got to be kidding me. That's why I keep telling you guys to invest in crypto because as inflation increases, so will the value of crypto. Guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that these layoffs are really here. These are massive these are massive layoffs. They're calling it a restructuring. You've got to be kidding me, bro. Okay? You've got to be kidding me. They're just trying to they're trying to stave off bankruptcy. Because if they cannot turn things around, then you're going to see the spread to more stores. The ultimate goal is going to basically be having Starbucks locations that don't have employees. That'll be the ultimate goal where everything is done through automation. And that's how a lot of people are going to like it. I know there's a lot of you who are going to say, "I'll never eat at a Starbucks or drink coffee at a Starbucks that doesn't have a barista." Yeah, that's those of you that don't have to worry about food insecurity and other things. There's a lot of people, especially the introverts, who would love to get a cup of coffee made the way that they enjoy it, used from a machine, and never have to interact with a person. That most Gen Zers would much more prefer to not interact with people. Millennials may be a little different, but the average Gen Zer, they rather the machine. They rather the automation. That's just how it is. That is honestly just how it is. They're a generation of people who honestly prefer not to. They're a group of people who honestly prefer to have less contact with other human beings as possible because they don't really have great communication skills, and a lot of that is a result of the events of 2020. We have another article here on the subject from ABC News. Starbucks to lay off 900 workers, close stores. I will look deeper at this one. Coffee giant Starbucks will lay off workers and close stores as part of a $1 billion restructuring plan. CEO Nichols said in a memo to employees on Thursday the company will slash 900 employees at its stores in North America. Nichols said the store closures will amount to a roughly 1% decline in the total number of Starbucks locations in North America in this fiscal year, after accounting for some store openings. Nichols added, while we're making good progress, there's much more to do to build a better, stronger, and more resilient Starbucks. Nicole said shares of Starbucks ticked slightly higher in pre market trading after the announcement early Thursday morning. Starbucks weathered sluggish sales in recent years as customers weathered a years long bout of elevated inflation. Analysts previously told ABC News it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse because no one has money to buy an expensive cup of Joe. Guys, society is just so pathetic, man. It is pathetic. Like American society, Western society is a joke. Like this, the moment you step outside of America, you realize that the healthcare system is crap. You realize the food is trash. It's expensive and it's garbage compared to other countries, developing countries like Mexico, the Philippines. It's just it's not of it's lower it's of lower quality. people, relationships are, you have better relationships, a greater community overseas. People are nicer. They care more about you. I'm not saying it's perfect, but being in the US, you realize that, it's like it just wants you to be fat. They just want you to be fat, sick, and miserable all the time. Yeah, these Starbucks closures, in my opinion, are only a larger part of a wave of more firings and layoffs that you're going to be seeing over the next year as AI displaces so many in the job markets. And it's only over the next 5 to 10 years. I think a lot of these jobs are just going to be wiped out completely. There's not going to be anyone working at Starbucks locations. All right. A lot of these Starbucks locations will be fully automated, or if they don't fully automate, the only people that are going to be going there are going to be people with substantial amounts of money. Okay. It's going to be basically a luxury to go to these locations and interact with a person. But and for Starbucks to remain competitive, they'll have to get rid of these employees and basically just automate out the process of making coffee. It'll be cheaper and it'll be much better. McDonald's, goodbye employees. The food, everything will be automated out. Your food will be brought to you by robots. It's already happening at some McDonald's. The food will be prepared by machines. It'll be brought to you by machines. No human beings. That's it. And you can moan and complain about it all you want, but that's where we're going. Data entry, coding, all of these jobs gone. Okay, even a lot of jobs in medicine gone, completely done by machines. And technicians who basically just are loading things that machines can't do, and being there for issues of safety. But like the people who are being paid 100K a year to check a culture no, they'll have a machine do that. People using or one person using machine just for quality assurance. Like doing Q&A. One person instead of 10 or 100. All right, it's about getting rid of as many people as possible. Acting, media, gone. I mean, right now you have AI music artists that are being signed. AI music artists, people who do not exist, but that are producing music using AI, and they're being signed to major record labels instead of actual artists that can sing and so forth. And honestly, I don't care, but it's this displacement is just going to be so massive. But let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.